know, a series of shotguns going off in your ear. What a brilliant thing. So today I'm going to be talking to you about the Aero Supersport. Now, Morgans generally are idiosyncratic cars at the best of times, but this is even special by Morgan standards. Now, they were built in very limited numbers and they were absurdly expensive when they were new. And objectively, an Aero 8, which is a much more approachable car financially, delivers practically everything that this does. Underneath, it's really the same car. And yet, these are really very desirable. Today, let's try and find out why. To understand the Supersport, you need to know about Morgan. They're located close to the Malvern Hills, a beautiful part of the UK, and they produced seemingly archaic, handmade wooden frame cars well into the 90s. They had great success in the USA in the 60s, but as the cars got older and stopped being developed, that market dried up. It didn't seem to matter though, because back home, Morgan continued with a waiting list of at least 2 years. In 2010, Morgan had its 100-year anniversary, and for the first 90 years, change was barely perceptible. Then, in 2000, everything changed. The Aero 8 was launched, and it was an all-new car. It used all aluminium panels, with just a nod to the older cars by having some wooden bits to support the body shell. Most people, unfortunately, remember those first cars because of their boss-eyed look. Luckily for the later ones, they changed them and made them look like this. The incredible looking car that you see here is an evolution of a one-off concept that was made for Prince Eric Sturska. That was so well received that they decided to make a limited edition 100 run of those called the Aero Max. It also used a modern BMW 4.4 litre V8 with 365 horsepower. Make no mistake, at 1,150 kilos, this really is a quick car. Quick enough for a 0 to 60 of 4.2 seconds. The iconic design had been created by Matt Humphreys, a 21-year-old design student who'd only recently started working at the factory. This is basically a Targa top version of the Max. Initially, they had planned on making a limited run of 200. In the end, I think only 140 were built. You have to take in some of the details on this car. Look at the shape of these mirrors, the side exhausts, the 3 wipers, and those incredible rear lights, which actually go back to the Lancia thesis. I'd say as a design, this was really much more successful. As you saw, opening the bonnets is a bit of a faff in itself, but also that engine is crammed in there really tight. Indeed, when it comes to servicing, they remove the whole front panel and these side wings as well, so that they can get to all the oily bits. There is clearly a price to pay for that styling. The boot, with the Targa panel stowed in it, is pretty much unusable. So you have to pick. If you're going to go away somewhere, there is enough room in there, but you'd have to keep the roof up. Also, inside, it's a very snug fit. The first thing is that you're greeted by these lovely little catchers. Even just getting in it, there's a little bit of a contortion for someone of my height. I'm 6'1". But then when you're here, well, you're laid out quite sort of horizontal there with your legs out almost flat in front of you, but you've got to take a moment before you do anything else just to drink in these details. The wooden dash here is just beautiful, and all these wooden panels, that is solid wood. It's not even veneer. You have the beautiful turned aluminium gear shifter there. You could get a manual. This car though is an automatic, but we'll talk a bit more about that later. And generally speaking, you just have the benefit of being in a hand-built car, but with the oddities of obviously using off-the-shelf parts intermixed with that. Let's see how it goes. We're going to get to my usual spot in a moment and I will unleash this engine, but before we do that, just need to tell you like a really interesting little anecdote, one little story that the owner, Stephen, told me, and that is that he really got into cars for the very first time when he was on holiday with his parents in Naples. That was in 1975, if I remember correctly. So I would have been 2 years old at that stage and in Milan. Anyway, he saw a supercar that completely blew his mind, and that's when he got into cars. And today he's brought a picture of him next to that car. And can you see? That is a Pantera. Same as my car. It's just so brilliant that he did that. I'm so pleased. It's just fantastic. Back to the Morgan now. You are very snug in here, but it's also pretty comfortable. For me, the driving position works. Stephen said that he finds it a little bit taxing on his back and on longer runs. The suspension is definitely firm, but it doesn't feel like it's compromised at these lower speeds. There's a bit of granular detail coming through, all the little bumps you can feel, but it's not unpleasant. As I mentioned, you can have a manual or an automatic, and I've been told the problem with the manual is you have nowhere to put your left foot if the clutch pedal is there. So really, the auto might be a better option in this car. Let's just put it into sport and manual selection. First gear. It's got no traction control, this car, remember, so. God, this thing is quick, seriously quick. That engine with that side exhaust that's just going to get pedestrians, onlookers scattering everywhere. It is such a weird thing. It feels so alien being in this car. The steering is nicely weighed and it's quite quick. Gives you a little bit of information as well, so no complaints there. The view that you have out the front of the car is so special. You've got the little bulbous bits from the headlights, this incredibly long surging bonnet, and of course you're so low in the car as well. And the brakes are brilliant. They really are very powerful. Pedal feel is pretty good. It's really odd because you're at sort of 4,500 revs, but it feels like the engine is barely ticking over. I think the way the exhausts come out on either side, you only hear one exhaust on one side, maybe, and so it doesn't feel like it's revving as hard as it is. It feels like it's going on torque alone, but of course that's not the case. Right now I'm doing close to 5,000 revs. Just getting used to how quick that steering is. It's best driven kept in sports mode, for which you just get the lever, pop it off to the left. You can then manually change, so if you push it forward it goes down a gear, pull it back and it goes up. But I have to say I don't particularly like that. I think I prefer it to just be in its own mode. There's so much else that you're thinking about around the car that changing gear like that just isn't, my brain can't really process it. There's too much information coming through. It's best enjoyed with the roof off, but I think that's where some of the contradictions with this come out. It's not a very quick Targa panel to take out. The clips are a little bit fiddly, so I'd say all in all, taking it out, then also putting them back in the bags, opening the boot, putting it in the boot. It's going to take you about sort of, I don't know, it's going to take you a few minutes. It will take you 5 minutes. And the problem is, once it's in there as well, you don't really have any room for any luggage. Let's just floor it again. Be a light car, but for some reason the chassis doesn't give you that same impression. It's not pin sharp, feels a little bit ponderous in a way. It's not at odds with the purpose and the character of it. It just makes it feel like an older car. It certainly isn't as pin sharp as some of the other supercars and cars that you could buy for the same sort of money. And I think that's where a little bit of the problem surfaces here. If you want something that really handles, well, you can buy, this is, I think, it's hard to price these because there's so few of them about, but ballpark figure, let's say about 150,000 to get into Supersport, maybe a bit more. You know, for that money, you could get yourself a McLaren, a Ferrari that, in terms of handling and finesse, it's completely outclasses it. There's no question. But this is obviously a car which is more about the sense of occasion that you get from driving it than the driving experience itself. I mean, it acquits itself pretty well, especially when you compare it to the older Morgans. It's in a completely different league. But it still isn't a sports car in a traditional sense. It reminds me a bit more of a muscle car, especially the way that exhaust sound, that V8 sounds, always feeling unstressed and low in the revs, even when it's quite high up the rev range. It is an absolutely batshit crazy thing. How ridiculous, and saying batshit crazy as well. That's what it feels like. It feels like I'm in a Batmobile. What a wonderful, wonderful, crazy car. It's not brilliant if you take the whole. It's a bit less than the sum of its parts in a way, because performance-wise, it's still a bit compromised, but the emotions that it gives you, I think, are completely unrivaled. Oh God, it's just incredible to point that nose down the road, then put your foot down, and it feels like it's surfing on the torque. Then you look down, and it's doing 5,500, 6,000 revs. Gearbox, even though it's in sport, okay, it holds on to the gears a bit longer, but it's not really, it doesn't respond super quickly. I'm assuming, I'm sure it's a BMW gearbox, but it's a little bit slow, it gets in the way a little bit. Might try using the manual in a second. You know what, I'm going down this wonderful road, and it almost feels like I'm flying a biplane down it. It's full of contradictions. There's so many things that I adore about it. You know, the fact that it's got solid wood trim, the hand-turned aluminium shifter, and then you see other things like this steering wheel. I really think they could have done better. I find this, in terms of size, it's fine. For me, the rim is a little bit too thick for this kind of car. It would be better with a thinner rim. And also, surely they could have found something a little bit more attractive than this. It's just, I don't know, for me it doesn't fit in with the rest of the interior. The seats are really comfortable, but there isn't that much room. This one is as far back as it will go at the moment. So how to sum up this utterly bonkers car? Well, let's get one thing out of the way. I absolutely love it, and it will feel completely different to anything else you've ever driven. So forget it. If you don't need the ultimate driving dynamics, then I think that 150 grand is money well spent. Mostly the detailing, even things like these, you know, handmade, lovely little sun visors, mostly the detailing does justify that price. Of course, they were also limited production, and you'll never get an experience like it driving anything else. Thing is though, there are many classics that I would also love to have for that kind of dough. On the whole though, brilliant bonkers thing. Well done, Morgan. I love what you've done. Absolutely brilliant. I think it looks amazing. It's like a Batmobile really, and it actually makes me proud to be in this country that, you know, there's cars like this being produced. It's just fabulous. Thank you so much to Stephen for having brought it down. Thanks to all of you for watching. Take a look. There's another Morgan on the more traditional chassis, but with a modern engine that I did a while ago. So have a look at that. I think you might enjoy that if you enjoyed this video.